Now you know, on this show, I love broccoli and broccolini. And generally speaking, there are many ways to cook any one dish. And we've covered broccoli pasta on this show before. And with a broccoli pasta and with broccoli in general, I like a little bit of bite and a little bit of texture. Don't love it when it's fully soft or overcooked. So I designed my broccoli pasta recipe around that. But there is a variation of broccoli pasta that comes from the Calabrian region of Italy. And to make this version, I'm gonna have to overcook the broccoli. But I promise, the way that we're gonna cook it, it's gonna taste as good as the first broccoli pasta recipe we made, albeit maybe a tad bit more work. I wanna thank our sponsor today, Cometir, but more of them later. For now, let's just jump right into it. First, we're gonna use all these stems, but I just wanna get this tough end cut off of the bottoms. You need about 3 small to 2 large heads of broccoli, and you wanna go for ones that have a bit of their stems fully attached. Don't just buy the crowns of broccoli. You wanna use those stems to kind of create a sauce. They also upcharge a lot when you just buy the crowns. Next thing I wanna do is just kind of shave a little bit of the stem, right? If you look, you can see it's very fibrous, especially towards the bottom. It could get tough. So just to be safe, I'm gonna go through and just shave basically the bottom half of the broccoli stem. Just until you can't see any more like fiber. Now what I want is a creamy broccoli sauce that has little bites of roasted broccoli florets on top. And I'm not just talking about like a floret like this. I'm talking about a floret like that. If you want to keep them bigger, you can for sure. But I'm going to go through and really just break these mini florets down into little tiny baby florets. Something like that. So that I can just kind of pepper them on top of the pasta. Then we're going to save this, and this is going to be used for the sauce. And then just take the stem, cut it into little bites. So we're just separating the stem from the florets, and then from those little florets, we just want to go through and cut even smaller florets. Then we're going to take those little florets, get them into a sheet tray where we're going to roast them. See all these little bits here that always kind of just get left on the board and thrown out? We're going to save those too and do something with those. It seems like enough. I need about enough pasta for 4 people. This is gonna shrink as it cooks, but this should be enough for 4 garnishes for 4 bowls of pasta. Then I can take the rest of these guys, just break them down a little bit more, add them to a bowl, save all this stuff. So I got my garlic. I'm gonna add some red chili flake to it. I like it spicy. Pasta of choice for today is some penne rigate. I usually make pastas for 2, but today I'm gonna go with a full pound just to show you how I would make it for a larger amount of people. If you wanna grab this pasta, there's gonna be a link down in the description. But before we head on over to the stove, we need to quickly thank our sponsor today, Cometir. Now you know I like a good bowl of pasta, but I also love a good cup of coffee. But I don't have all the equipment I need to make a good one at home. So that means I usually go out to get a cup of coffee, but that's just so inconsistent, even at the fanciest coffee shop. That's why I'm excited to partner with Cometir. Cometir is a new way to make, or should I say melt, your coffee at home. They offer pour over quality coffee from some of the world's best specialty coffee roasters that's super convenient, brewed 10 times stronger, and delivered in frozen recyclable aluminum capsules. The brewed coffees immediately flash frozen into these pucks to lock in freshness and flavor. Then all you have to do is add 6 to 8 ounces of hot water to melt the puck, and you've got coffee that tastes like a barista just brewed a cup in your own home. It's really that fast and easy. All the brewing's already been done. Maybe you like an iced latte. Instead of adding the water, you just add some ice with a melted capsule poured right over it and some cold milk, and you got yourself a latte. Or maybe my personal favorite, an affogato. A spoonful of ice cream with a melted capsule poured right over it. One of my favorite treats. It's perfection. Cometir really isn't fully available to the public yet, but we've got the hookup. If you click the link down in the description, not only will you bypass the wait list, you're also going to receive 50% off your first purchase. That's just $1 a cup. So go down to the description, place your first order, and thank you Cometir for sponsoring this video. Okay, first up, I got my oven preheating at 475 degrees to 500 degrees, and we want to roast these hard and fast. I'm gonna coat with some olive oil. I'm gonna make sure they're nicely coated. You season with a little bit of salt, not too much. And just get those mixed up. So we want to roast these broccoli florets and boil the broccoli stems in some salted boiling water for about 10 minutes each. So I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes, and while those cook, I'm going to make the broccoli breadcrumbs in a large pan by just adding a little bit of olive oil, adding all the broccoli crumbs you gathered from the cutting board, and then just let those cook for like 2 minutes and brown and develop a little flavor. Once you sort of see them start to shift a shade of green, then we can add a handful or two of some breadcrumbs, a little olive oil if we need to get those breadcrumbs coated, and then we're just gonna cook those until they're nicely golden brown. So after 10 minutes, I check on the broccoli florets, and they're starting to brown on the edges nicely, but in the center there, need a little bit more color. So I'm just gonna shift them all around, push most of them towards the back end, and pop them in the oven for another 2 to 3 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm gonna add enough olive oil to coat that pan, and then I'm gonna add the garlic and the red chili flake and cook those for about 2 to 3 minutes until they begin to soften. By now the roasted broccoli should be done. I'm gonna get that out of the oven. These are perfect. These are exactly what I was looking for. Now at the same time, the broccoli should be nice and soft and mashable. So I'm gonna kill the heat on the oil and carefully add the softened broccoli directly to the garlic and oil. We want to cook that down for about 5 minutes, adding a little bit of water as needed and sort of breaking up the broccoli with a wooden spoon to form the start of a sauce. Traditionally, this is when pasta would be added to and you'd just eat it like this, but we're going to take it one step further and puree it to create a creamy sauce. Now we got to blend this sauce. And of course, when you blend a hot sauce, you have to be careful. You blend it too hard, too fast, it's gonna erupt in the blender and it's gonna create a mess. And a few of you have reached out to me to share your blender explosion stories with me. This blender has a lock and a way for me to vent steam out through this nozzle. Now, this isn't my favorite blender, but it's great for this purpose. You can let this thing cool, just sort of had it off the heat, letting it cool a little bit. You just want to get that broccoli and all the contents into the blender, and then we need to add some water. Otherwise, it would become a chunky puree, and we want a nice smooth puree. Now be very careful. At the start, I'm just going to pulse it and allow steam to escape. And once I've got it going, then I can puree it on high until it's nice and smooth. If it's not smooth, add a little bit more water and keep going. Now we gotta cook our pasta. This penne takes about 10 minutes to make. So I'm gonna add the pasta to the boiling salted water and set a timer for 8.5 minutes. Let that cook, stirring occasionally so none of the pasta sticks. Towards the end of the cooking process, we want to take a measuring cup and sort of pull out about 1.5 cups of the pasta water. And then after 8.5 minutes, drain the pasta. Get that pot back on the stove, add the broccoli puree. You can clean out the blender with some of that pasta water, and then add that pasta back to the sauce and start to meld the pasta and marry the pasta with the sauce. I got it on about a medium heat, and then I'm going to toss in a tablespoon of butter, slowly work that in, and finish cooking the pasta in the sauce for that final 1.5 minutes. And I want to use the pasta water to regulate the sauce consistency so that I can get it through that 1.5 minutes without it getting too thick. Once the pasta is al dente, I'm going to kill the heat. Before we add the cheese, we want to thin out the sauce because I know as soon as I add the cheese, it's going to tighten back up. And just like we would cacio e pepe or any of the Roman pastas, we're going to toss in a handful of grated Pecorino Romano cheese and then immediately vigorously start to stir the pasta to allow that cheese to properly melt into it. Check for seasoning, and if the sauce is not at the proper consistency you want, adjust with a little bit of pasta water. And then we can finish up by plating the pasta, garnishing with some of those roasted broccoli florets, some of the broccoli breadcrumbs, and then finally a little bit more of the Pecorino Romano. If your kids hate broccoli, this is a great way to kind of shove a lot in. My main problem with a recipe like this would be the softness of the broccoli, so we solve for that with texture by roasting some little broccoli florets and with the breadcrumbs. You get different flavors of broccoli all throughout the pasta, and that's what makes it delicious. I really want you to give this recipe a try as well as my other broccoli pasta recipe and let me know which one you like better. All the links are going to be down in the description. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself. There's 4 more videos on the screen just like this one to watch next. May I suggest this red bell pepper pasta? Those of you who've had it have loved it, so I think you should try it.